do the recording here. So hopefully you can hear me okay and see my charts okay. Can somebody just type in a yes? So I know that we're good to go. Thank you, John. Good to see you. All right, so I know, right now during the spring and the summer, I hold these every other week versus weekly. And so again, I always look forward to these Wednesdays to kind of give you my thoughts, get some feedback from everybody, and go from there. But Dr. G asked a great question here that I'll answer here momentarily. Okay, so if you look at the VIX, okay, I've got the futures VIX open here, VX, okay. One thing that's very interesting to me, I'm going to actually change this from daily to weekly, okay? So weekly chart. What happens, let me scrunch this together a little bit too, just for right now, okay? So if you see here, when you have these moves up, certainly this was COVID, okay? What happens? It falls down, okay? So now let's go back to a daily format. And I know I've talked about this before, but it's very important. So when the VIX rises, it's going to come back down, right? Because the VIX is, again, I keep it very simple for myself and for everybody else. VIX is the fear, right? When the markets come down, the VIX goes up. But what's cool about the VIX, fear doesn't last too long, right? And then what happens is the fear stops, or it's digested, it's probably a better word, right? And then the markets start resuming normality again. And so when you have this then happens, it happened over here just recently, came down, is it going to happen again? You can make some good money playing this short play, okay, whether you're selling a call or buying a put. And so just keep an eye on the VIX. And again, I wouldn't jump the gun. Like here, you're saying, well, I don't know exactly when I would get in this short play, right? Because it could keep going. And I do have some more advanced strategies I'm not going to go over today. But one client of mine does something really cool. He basically goes in every couple of dollars, he adds into his position. Again, he knows going into it what he's okay to risk, right? So when I say advanced strategies, you have to know, you don't want to ever risk too much of your account. That's silly. So, but he'll add in to the position here. Then when it does fall, it falls quickly. And then he makes, money on every $2 of this, he's making money on the short side. So again, keep an eye on the VIX. I'll probably eventually hold a webinar dedicated to the VIX because it's a really, there's so many cool things that you can do with the VIX. And because the VIX doesn't go up like it does up here in January, this was very, very reliable. And we knew this was going to happen, right, with seasonality. But the nice thing about this right here is, it's got to come down, okay? Just like over here, it's going to go up and it's got to come down. And so there's some really good strategies. It's not going to be every week. It's, anywhere from 5 to 10 to 12 trades a year, whenever it gives it to us. But keep an eye on the VIX. And, another really good strategy, big picture, is when the VIX is up like this, let's say you're flat, you don't want to buy stocks, those of you that just trade the stock market. Once it starts heading down, you got red Hakanachis, then you can start buying your stocks again, okay? So don't buy them as they're coming up like this. Wait for it to turn red, and then you can buy your stock. So keep an eye on the VIX, folks, okay? And if you don't use the futures at all, you can type in, VIX. I don't know if you're all getting delays on Thinkorswim. I have been the last couple of days, but, there's VIX, okay? So obviously today we had an increase in the VIX. We have the markets heading lower this morning. Again, I don't believe that this is the start of a much larger crash, but time will tell. I'm going to go over that analysis. So let me bring up the Nasdaq. And I'll bring it up with the Qs this time. So again, we knew this when back in February, right? Normally the markets come down. So this wasn't something that should have surprised any of us, right? This is very predictable, in fact. For whatever reason, every February, markets head lower, okay? Now, where do I think is headed? So remember, look at that seasonality, right? Look at the green dotted line here off the weekly chart. What does this mean? This is 10 years of history of what should happen. It means we're still in a bull market, right? So it doesn't mean every day or every week's going to go up, right? In fact, we see a little bit of an up, then a down, then up, then down, up, then down. And why is that? I mean, you can look at anything. You can chart anything you want, even when you have a strong uptrend or a strong downtrend. What happens? Does it go straight up? Of course not. What does it do? In a strong uptrend, it goes up, retraces, then it goes up. So you're looking for those higher lows, right? Like right here, currently we're still at a higher low than right here. This was a higher low than it was here. That's the definition of an uptrend. So even though it's not continually going up, okay, I mean, it's funny, reading all the news out there, bear market, this and that, we're still in an uptrend, folks, okay? I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, anything can happen. We could have we could start a downtrend. At some point, we're going to, okay? But right now, we've had a decline. We hit a new high right on the end of April, and now May's been bearish. But is this just going to be one of those little lines, right, where bigger picture we're going to go higher? I mean, if I had a bet, I would say absolutely, because that's what the market does. It retraces, goes higher, retraces, goes higher, consolidates, goes lower, and now what? What's going to happen here? Are we going to roll over and maybe test that 300 level again, right? Or is this the low and we're going to head higher, okay? I did a long play on the Nasdaq. I got really close to getting stopped out today, and now it wicked. So again, is it something where it's going to head higher now and save me? Time will tell, okay? But we're still in an uptrend, folks. That's what I really want to communicate. So what do I think is going to happen? I do think the markets are going to go higher. So if they continue lower first, it's just going to give us more time to hit highs going into later in the year. That's what markets do. So don't get too caught up on news. That's one thing that, as I'm mentoring folks, I tell them, because you can go on so many different websites, and I look at a lot of them because I like to go in their opposite directions. And I caution you one thing on Bitcoin. So let's talk about Bitcoin for a minute. Right, it had a huge move down earlier today, right? Look at that. This is Bitcoin. I mean, this is a tremendous move all the way down, basically kissed 30,000, okay? And now look what happened. It went from 30,000 back up to 40,000 today, folks, okay? So is this the bottom? Again, we don't know, right? I don't have enough data seasonally either to tell you that. But the reason I'm saying is everything. In fact, I think I have it. Let me show you something. Market watch. Bitcoin's 40% crash does feel like perpetuation, right? Fear. Bitcoin's going to zero. So in many cases, when it starts making news like this, okay, what happens? Very, very close to a bottom, okay? Now, again, something like Bitcoin's very, very volatile, and I don't have 20 years of history to look at, okay? But what I can tell you is last time it hit 30,000 here, it hit new highs. Now we've done a tremendous wick. What happens here at 30,000? There's a tremendous amount of buyers coming in, right? So time will tell. I certainly wouldn't go long here until I got a Laguerre trigger with a green Hackenacci. I want both this time because, again, there is more risk. And again, the way I'll trade this is doing some crypto, like Mara and Riot and so forth. I'm just showing Bitcoin from the futures market here. But that is a tremendous wick, a $10,000 wick right there. And it could go lower. I mean, if it does, if this thing goes down to like 20,000, I mean, think of the opportunity to get back into some of these longer term plays, right? But because of all the negative news, I think we're getting very, very close to a bottom. Just like I think it was 4 or 5 years ago when Bitcoin was getting all the publicity about it's going to go to, at the time, I don't know, 50,000, something like that, right? As soon as it hit the news in January, people were mortgaging their home to buy it, it crashed, right? So when you see something on the news, in the news a lot, okay, typically it's going to go in that opposite direction, right? Because that's how professionals feed their families. It doesn't mean immediately, right? It's all about timing. That's why before I do a long Bitcoin play, I am waiting for my triggers. Whether it works or not, I have rules, okay? Certainly, I love this wick. If it stays like this, I mean, that was a lot of buying coming in there, okay? So we'll see. Then you can look at something like Riot, okay? Not nearly as aggressive from the wick, right? But we'll see if this ends up holding. We're getting close to at some point we're going to get a new trigger, okay? But until we do, right, I'm not adding to any positions or adding in any new trades yet. I'll let the system tell me when it's time to get in, okay? Okay. All right, so again, that's a little bit of big picture, again, let me just go back to like the spiders. Again, I got a lot of questions on this, okay? Again, look at this. So today, here's where we're at right here. Right now it's hanging on with the Bollinger Band, right? And this is 2.5 standard deviations. So until it breaks through and keeps going, it's all it's doing is retracing. It's retracing within the band. That's what we do. That's how professionals take profit. That's how retailers can't take the pain anymore and they get out. The other thing is from a retail sentiment standpoint, we're back to about 50-50, meaning 50 are long, 50 are short. So all that tells me is there's indecision. There's not a lot of advantage from a sentiment perspective. So, you can go long and short, protective stops, risk versus reward. You can do that. Ways of doing that is to go to a smaller time frame and look for triggers. So on the 4-hour chart, if you were bullish, you could take this 9 o'clock move a couple days ago. Then you got a short trigger right here. Okay, as our next trigger coming here long, you could go long, put your stop below the wick. So you can take it in both directions. Okay, absolutely, you can do that. It's about risk reward. Okay, so when the markets are kind of going back and forth, you can trade it back and forth. I'm certainly biased to the upside big picture, and this is it. So this 4-hour candle, just opened up and it is a bullish Hackenacci now. So this is a higher low than here. So is this the trend reversal now back up to the top band? We'll have to wait and see, right? Laguerre has not triggered yet. But there's many ways to trade something. You just got to figure out what's best for you, okay? If it holds here within the next 2 to 3 weeks, if not sooner, we'll hit new highs. If it doesn't hold, we'll see what happens. I mean, we don't know how low it'll go, right? The cool thing is, as long as it's red Hackenacci, what are we going to do? I mean, if you're going to short it, you can short it. But other than that, you just wait and wait and wait. And then when the Laguerre turns around down here and gives us a go with the green Hackenacci, that'll be another try, right? And that's how you play it. Just like back here, you're like, oh, market's heading down. Here is our entry right here, right? Up, then came back down, new entry right here. So you just do it over and over again. Okay, risk reward is what it comes down to. Okay. Sorry about my killer German shepherds there. Okay, they disagree with me. So let's talk about the dollar index. Let let me clear these out here. Bear with me. Okay. So you can see here on the dollar index, it's basically done gone up, gone down the same amount here. And you can see from a seasonal, it's pretty sideways, right? So again, in a situation like this, if you like to trade the dollar index, we're certainly getting down to close to a bottom here from the history, okay? So you can wait to do when you don't have a major advantage in seasonality, you can look to do the play, back to the mean at least here. So, if we get a Laguerre trigger, I may take this. I don't know if I do it publicly because I usually only take seasonal trades publicly. But again, let's say it's at 90 and it triggers and you can put your stop right below these wicks. Look at the potential reward, right, versus the risk. That's what it's all about, risk and reward. I will risk more when I have everything in alignment, seasonality, data mining, high probability setups. Then I'm willing to risk more. Something like this where I don't have necessarily, again, assuming we trigger here long in next week, okay? I don't have the seasonal advantage though. So if I take that, right, I want to have at least a 1-to-1 ratio, if not a 2-to-1, because I don't have all the edge that I usually like to trade, okay? So again, that's how you need to look at things, in my opinion, to be it for the long run here when you're trading, okay? All right, so let's take a look at gold. Another good learning point here. That's what I love about having these sessions is, one, I get questions and comments. Some of them, make me think outside the box as well. And I remember many folks saying back here, Bitcoin's taken over, so gold's going to zero, okay? Not that dramatic, but I'm just summarizing it like a soap opera, right? What you have to remember, there's enough money out there for everybody to put money somewhere, right? There's money on the sidelines right now that people don't know where to put it, okay? And so, this normal sell-off, it just happens. And now we're back up here. You can see seasonally we start cooking again here on gold to the upside. So what I'm looking for is the next retracement, right? Then I'll look for a higher low and I'll look to go long now, okay? Finally broke out of that congestion to the downside and everything, okay? But my point is to this, don't overthink it. And the reason I say that is because I have over the years, right? I mean, I've been trading 15 years, and easily the first 5 or 6, I was overthinking. I was reading news, and based off of that, getting a lot of bias. And, I'm not exaggerating. I had at least 20 emails over the last couple of months on my thoughts on how low gold's going to go because Bitcoin's taken over. And all I said was, I have no idea how low it's going to go, right? We're going to let our indicators tell us when it may reverse. But are you kidding me? I mean, gold is a safe haven. And when people don't know what to do, they still like to put their money into gold. So absolutely, there's no surprise, that we're making this move back higher. So what I like to do, the whole point of this discussion though, is when you get lows, okay, when you get double bottoms, or when you're looking to just invest in longer term, when these downtrends stop, right? And you don't know at the time is going to be the bottom. That's not the point. Let's say you went in here, for example, not here. Okay, you're buying discounts. And that's when you should do that. So some of these tech stocks that have had some pretty nice moves to the downside, if you're looking to buy them and hold them for longer term positions, and I suggest you start looking and picking, because we're getting some incredible discounts, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. Going back to gold, Nugget's one of my favorite ETFs to trade. Okay, so it's a leverage ETF, 2x. So if you buy the stock, down here again at the low, we got a trigger then at 310. So you could have said, well, if I can get in at $53 on Nugget, even if it goes lower, maybe I'll go in half of my position that I normally would. So that way, if it goes lower, I'll add into my position. I mean, you know, these leverage ETFs, you bought the outright, you know, ETF at 53. I mean, look at it already up in the 80s. And if it doesn't happen that quickly, that's okay, because if you bought it, you spent $5 grand to buy this, right? Let's say, right, as a longer term investment, you know, think about, you know, where is this going to be 2-3 years from now, right? So again, I wish somebody would have taught me back when I first started learning to trade. When the markets head lower, think about buying at discounts, okay? Look at some of your favorites, you know. I had a person email me saying Shopify, you know, and absolutely it's at a discount now, right? I mean, it was at $1,500 back in February, right? Now we're getting triggers on Shopify. Look at the 5-year, right? It doesn't have 10-year yet. Okay, I've got strong bullish sentiment on my sentiment indicator. Green, you know, yellow, Hakanachi, getting ready to turn green here. And, you know, if you're looking to buy Shopify and hold it for a while, you know, getting in at 1,150 versus 1,500 right now, now's an opportunity. And you go in a quarter, half of your size, if it comes lower, you can add in. That's how you can really make money on some of these larger moves. Okay, so again, I don't think I'm getting too far off topic today. I know I don't normally talk as much about those type of things, but when markets decline, get excited. Look for things that you can then buy at discounts. Okay, if you're over leveraged, that's another story. So if you have 20 trades long at once, you know, then you've put yourself at potential risk, right? You put yourself at 2 opportunities. You can retire very soon, or you got to work the rest of your life. So you don't ever want to over leverage, okay? And that's the hardest thing for most traders. That's why so many traders fail, is they're always looking to make enough money tomorrow, okay? But it's a marathon. And so, you know, when COVID first hit, I had a few long positions, but I never had more than 5, for stocks I'm talking, I never had more than 5 open long positions that have risk, that I haven't taken some profits on. So that way, if I risk 3% a trade max, right, and I have 5 open trades, if disaster happens, the worst I can lose is 15% of my account, which is still, in my opinion, you know, a lot of money. But that's if everything's at 0, right? And that's not going to happen. But just give you a feel, I can sleep at night knowing worst case scenario, 15% of my account's gone. Not 50, not 60, not 100. Okay. And I know for that to happen, that's almost unheard of. So, you know, that's not going to happen at all. But you need to manage that and understand that. Any questions on that? Okay. So I just was told, my wife walked in, that they're taking the internet down for a minute. Now I have 2 internets. And so we should still be going. But if I lose you, this is being recorded, and I apologize. We did not know this was happening. But I do have a backup internet, and they're supposed to work separately. So if one goes down, the other goes up. But just kind of a heads up on that. Okay. So no questions on that? Again, I know I'm doing a little bit of my lecturing today, but we'll get into some opportunities here in just a second. Okay. Okay. All right, let's take a look at NEO. So NEO is another one that I've been eyeing, right? Good 5-year seasonal. And so we have this discount. Okay, we have this discount. And again, I'm not just going long because we can get this discount. Okay, but when I get triggers next week, next month, whenever that is, this is one of the stocks I'm looking at buying. Okay. And, you know, I do a lot of option plays, as most people know. Probably 95% of my plays are options, you know, but something like this, I may end up buying the stock and holding it for several years. Okay. So would you rather buy it at, you know, let's say $36, or would you rather buy it at 61.57? Okay. Because what, again, a really good strategy, folks. Let's say you're willing to risk $12,000 on one trade. I'm just doing this for easy math, okay? So if you do $12,000, go in half here, you know, when I say that, when you get a trigger, okay? If it works out great, you're happy, you're not gonna be mad. But then let's say it comes back down some more and gives you a new trigger at 24, then you can add into that position. You didn't overdo your initial position, you reduce your cost basis. Now, when this goes back up, okay, you're in really good shape. So in some cases, believe it or not, as long as you're proportioning your trade properly, if your initial entry doesn't work out as well, you actually can make more money adding into the position, okay? So you got to think of it that way, you know, just like the VIX trade I was telling you about, okay? But anyway, this is just one I want everybody to keep an eye on for NEO, okay? All right, Broadcom. So obviously it's a more expensive trade. We have a debit spread on this right now, but phenomenal seasonality, phenomenal data mining dates. I mean, Broadcom should be going higher here, and you know, earnings is part of that. So absolutely, I'm staying in during earnings on this one. You know, year in, year out, it typically makes us money. But you know, you can see on a day like today, the markets are down. Broadcom is up a little bit here, but you know, this seems like a double bottom right around this 430 level. So again, this is an opportunity for folks. If you're looking to buy Broadcom, you know, as a buy and hold or do an option play, you know, right here is about time. You know, if you haven't got in yet, you know, I just say, well, wait for that Laguerre at this point. Okay, that Laguerre. I got in off of the green Hackenacci and the green dot with Laguerre pointing up. It had not come out of that green 20% yet, though. Okay. All right, let's talk bonds. So bonds have been what they normally are, pretty boring, right? Pretty boring. We typically get a nice run coming though in bonds, okay? So right around June and July, and it can go into August. Okay, bonds typically head higher, okay? And so we can look at things like TLT. So bonds is back on my radar. What I'm waiting for is to start moving higher with some steam, okay? And, you know, no steam yet. You know, what's steam? What I mean by that is when Hackenacci has become, you know, solid green candles, that tells me potentially the move is starting, okay? So that's kind of what I'm looking for on bonds, but keep it on your radar, as I do believe year in, year out, right around June, July, they go higher, okay? All right, we talked about Bitcoin, crude. Let's talk about crude oil. So crude, in my opinion, we're very, 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 very close, if not at a top, okay? One, again, we all heard what happened here on the East Coast with the pipeline, right? So what does that tell you? Everyone says, well, prices, future prices should just go to 200 bucks, okay? So retailers are adding positions now, going long. So that's one reason why I think it's going to go lower here, okay? And retailers have started going their net long versus net short. But we've been consolidating right at these prices, okay? Just like we did here, then we had this move down. So I do think we're going to test 58 to 56 here over the next month, if not sooner. Again, I'm not saying that all of a sudden now crude's going to zero, but I think we're at a top. You know, and if we come up and test that 67 and then it falls back over, that's even better. But crude, in my opinion, has peaked, and we'll see how it plays out. As long as those retailers continue to go long, crude's going to head lower, folks. Salesforce. Again, Salesforce has earnings coming up, but you can see here, it doesn't really want to break that 210. So again, for some of you that want to pick up some Salesforce or do a shorter term option play, more than likely here you can see it's up today. More than likely we're going to hit that 230, 240 level here at some point. It has been in a downward channel, but you can make money up to that channel, as well. Okay, so that's just something again that I've been looking at, and I suggest you kind of keep that on your watch list. Okay. Yeah, I can absolutely. So let's look at AMD. So AMD is exciting to me. One, I'm not in the trade right now. So, having this retracement is going to be a phenomenal buying opportunity on AMD, right? You can see the 10-year and the 5-year very, very strong right about now. Again, on a down day, the market, the AMD's up. So we're getting close to a potential entry. And what I love about this is a couple of things. If tomorrow it opens up and you got a Laguerre with the green Hackenacci, you can just basically look to see if price breaks below and closes below these 4 wicks here, get out, right? You're not going to have a major loss. But if it doesn't, if it makes its run now, right, that's another great example of risk versus reward. It doesn't matter if you're wrong, just try to eliminate those losses. But you have a seasonal move coming. And if you have a green Hackenacci and a Laguerre triggering, more than likely this is a short-term bottom. Okay. So, when you have a really easy opportunity to say a pretty small loss versus a really good opportunity to the long side, then I suggest you take it. Okay. Take a look at NVIDIA. Okay, so NVIDIA again, beautiful seasonal. Very normal when you have new highs to then retrace. You just don't know how far it's going to retrace, right? You just don't know how far. I would definitely wait until after earnings now. So once earnings are over, right, then I'll be looking for long plays on NVIDIA. Without question, I will be. Okay, so I don't want to get in at this point before earnings, but I'll be looking to enter here after earnings for it to retest those highs, during the summer months here. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Another request is Apple. I have an open position on Apple right now, long. Again, what I like about Apple, interesting enough today. So the market's down, Apple's down a little bit, right, with the market, but the Laguerre's still up, pointing up. Okay. I do want to see it get back to green Hackenacci. So, I just recently went long on Apple. If you're not long, I would now at this point wait for the green Hackenacci. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I love Apple alongside. Remember, one to 2 days in the market doesn't make the market. And we do have a 2 o'clock news release today, right? FOMC, and anything can happen. Probably, in my opinion, it won't be too much of a market maker though this time, but who knows? But yeah, love Apple to alongside. If you're not in it, look for your entries. If you're in it, I'd be adding in when I get a new trigger personally. Okay. All right, so a couple things I wanted to show you. Let me bring it up. So I just pulled some from my data mining for June, some of my favorites. Okay. So again, let me explain this. So Southern, okay, railroad company. If you enter on June 1, which again, I don't just go in off the dates, but you have to have dates to mine, right? So from June until basically September. So it's it's a 3-month option play or so, right? 35 out of 38 years has gone higher, 8%. So again, think about that. 38 years that Southern's been around, during the summer months has gone higher 35 out of those 38 years. Okay. Crazy statistics, right? Then you look at Southern, you're like, oh boy, look at that beautiful, beautiful uptrend, right? Hit a high. Now it's having its normal retracement, right? This will show up on the Bollinger Band scan here tomorrow if it continues to, or the next day. So it's pierced the 2.5 standard deviation. If it starts coming higher and gets out of that, right? You get your Laguerre with the green Hackenacci. There you go. You got an opportunity with high probability, right? Because Southern, as I mentioned, between June 1 and 8/29 has gone higher 35 out of 38 years. Okay, about an average of 8% of the stock price. Okay, so it can start a little early, a couple weeks early is absolutely normal for these seasonal plays. But I also love that it's been in that very strong downtrend, and now it's just having a normal retracement. Okay, so absolutely, in my opinion, keep an eye on that, right? What else? Cigna. roughly the same dates, just a little bit shorter. 13 out of 16 years, it's gone higher. Okay, so you make, well, I've never heard of Cigna. Okay, but again, it's in a trend here. So any sort of retracement we get, you can look at taking a long play, knowing, right, that it has a high probability of going higher. And if you're in a pretty strong trend, you can always go back to that 4 hour and wait for the next long trigger here on that 4 hour chart, right? So we have a plan. Okay, we have a plan, and that's what's important. We're not just going to go in, we have to know when to go in. Okay, VAR. Again, same time frame, 13 out of 16 years, same percentage, looks almost identical. Okay, we've been talking about BFB, and I know a few of you had said that you've taken a nice trade on BFB. Congratulations. You can take more, and when you get retracements on BFB, you can take more. But you know, 25 out of 29 years, it's gone higher, you know, and it's coming up even again. So when you look at BFB, Thinkorswim is BF/B, right? This move here, when you got the trigger on April, was extremely high probability trade. Okay, and that's what we want. We want high probability trades. The next time this retraces, right, look to go long. The odds are you're going to make money. Okay, 25 out of 29 years. Okay. All right, then ILMN, just another example of some bullish activity that typically happens anytime, right? So again, you know, we've been consolidating here. We got the move. So, you know, if you're looking at an opportunity here, more than likely, you know, ILMN over the summer months will be heading higher here. Okay. So those are just a few I picked out of that data mining that I use. And again, that's in my opinion, if I had one tool, that would be my tool. Okay. Any questions on anything? Does anybody want me to look at anything today? Again, hopefully, I know my style today was a little bit different, really trying to ingrain to you some teachings, some bigger picture, how markets, what they do. They go up, they go down. They go up, they go down. In an uptrend, they go up higher than they go down, right? Sounds super simple, but then when you look at your account one day and it's down, the next day it's up, and then it's down, and you're freaking out because it's down, right? That's uptrends, you have down days. So until it breaks some major strength, right, we got to assume, right, or stay flat. Oops, sorry about that. Right, you never have to force anything, especially when I try to type, it's silly. But again, all this is showing me on the SPY. This is what it's been doing, you know, over and over again, and then it comes right back. So until it doesn't, you know, on the SPY, what am I looking for? A green Hackenacci candle with the Laguerre pointing up. That's when I would do a long play, okay? So you don't have to overthink it. You know, today, even if it closes higher, right, this is solid red. So nothing would surprise me if this continues a little bit lower, okay? But when it does turn around, I like the SPY long better than I like it short right now, okay? That's how I look at things with the Bollinger Bands, with the Hackenacci and the Laguerre. It is interesting today, though, with a pretty bearish candle on Hackenacci, yet Laguerre at this point is curving up here. You don't see that very often. That's indecision is what it is. Absolutely. Let me take a look at BLNK. Yeah, so here's another good risk reward, right? So, I mean, seasonally, it's obviously, this is more of a short interest play, which I won't get into today, but Chris knows. You know, there's no seasonal advantage, but we know that there's a lot of short interest here. So what'll probably happen at some point, we're going to get a pretty fast move up here at some point. And so earnings is over. And now we're getting triggers long. So it's more of a speculative play. You know, you could do a 3 to 4 month option play and see if you can get a larger move, because at some point the shorts are going to get spooked, and you could have, you know, kind of like what happened with, you know, just as an example, right? Because everyone heard of that, with AMC here, right? That's exactly what's happening, right? They're short, and then all of a sudden it goes against them. They got to cover their positions and wham, from 4 to 20. Okay, and that happens very, very often. You just aren't aware of it because a lot of these certain stocks you may not even trade. Okay. Oh, one more. So Tractor Supply, you can see again, beautiful uptrend, beautiful seasonal. See how it's giving us this opportunity now, right? So again, when am I going to look to take this? Laguerre, trigger long, green Hackenacci. I'm getting a nice discount from 200 down to, let's say, 175-ish, and it'll end up making new highs here this summer. Okay, so that's how you can really build your accounts, is wait for these, be patient, have rules. Okay. And then you're going to look for these as opportunities, dominant uptrend. We had a nice combo trigger back here in March, and see how that worked out, right? Seasonality's been to the long side. You just never know how big a move is going to happen until after it happens, obviously. Okay. Chris, yeah, good question. So, these are Hackenacci candles, okay? So what I did is I just had a program that the white is the actual price open, the red is the close, or in this case, actual price today, right? So what I mean by that is if I go to Hackenacci and I change it to candle, see how they match? So the open and the close. So that way I can keep my Hackenacci charts all the time, but I know where actual price close. Okay, so again, let me just blow this up for an example. So like on this candle right here where it hit highs, okay, it opened at the white, hit a high, and then it actually closed lower, right? So if you looked at the regular candle, it would be a red candlestick, but Hackenacci was still green. Okay, so it helps me stay into a trade at times, again, going back to my favorite example, which we took in the trade alert. You see how lumber, right? I mean, just unbelievable. We got the trigger here, combo long. Hackenacci kept us in that trade. Okay, I like to wait for, in theory, if you can wait for 2 red candles, that's when you get a red dot. You can see you didn't get a red dot then till right here. Okay, so if you exited right there at 1622, you got in at, let's just say 900. Okay, think of that move. Okay, where if you're looking at regular candles, you're going to have different colors all the time. You may exit earlier. And what I love about Hackenacci, it allows me to maximize runners. Okay, there's no reason to get out right here because you think you did well, because the market doesn't care when it's ripping your head off, right? So you want to try to maximize it. When I realize is from a Laguerre trigger to when Hackenacci turns to red dots, okay, you're going to make about 80% of the overall move. So you might as well stay in it. Okay, you might as well stay in it. So that's why I love Hackenacci, folks. Okay. All right. Well, again, if any questions come up, please, don't hesitate to reach out, to email me. That's what I'm here for, to help assist you and make you some money. So if you need anything, folks, reach out. Other than that, I'll see you in a couple of weeks. I do have a webinar coming up Friday, by the way. Let me see if I can find it here, where I'm going to talk about Hackenacci. Let me find it so I can put the link in there in case you don't have it. Bear with me. Let me stop sharing for a minute. Sorry about that. I'm just grabbing the link and then I'll paste it in the chat for you in case you don't have it. Okay. Webinars, here we go. So let me click on it. And there's got to be a copy thing here somewhere. Let's see. Copy invitation. There we go. So now what I can do is put it in the chat box for you. That way you can make sure you register if you have it. Okay. All right, folks, sounds good. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you all in a couple weeks. Take care.